Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Source Material Comics Podcast, episode 261. That's right, 261. We are going to be talking a book tonight that came out in 2016 from Marvel Comics. Our creative team, real quick, David Walker is the writer, Sanford Green is the artist, Lee Loffridge is the color artist, and VC's Clayton Coles, letterer and production. All right. My buddy Mark Radlich is here. He's going to tell you why we're doing this book.
This is one of those weird Radlich synergy, not synergy things. This week we're focusing on the Bad Boys franchise. We're reviewing Bad Boys for Life, which is Bad Boys 3, starring Martin Lawrence and Will Smith. Tomorrow on Damn You Hollywood, much to Robert Winfrey's chagrin. And then on Thursday, in theory, we should be doing a Long Road to Ruin for the first two movies, Bad Boys 1 and 2. There's no comic that leads into this, but I'll tell you what. We did some stuff on Luke Cage and Iron Fist because of the Marvel series over the past couple of years, but we hadn't gotten an opportunity to do any of the classic Power Man and Iron Fist books. So in my lizard brain, I went, Bad Boys, the boys are back in town. Power Man and Iron Fist. Perfect. I don't really know how I got there from Will Smith and Martin Lawrence to Luke Cage and Danny Rand, but somewhere along the line I did, and that's how we got to this book.
David Walker, just real quick, I'm hopping over to his bio on his own webpage. Award-winning comic book writer, author, filmmaker, journalist, and educator. His work in comic books includes Shaft, winner of the 2015 Glyph Award for Story of the Year.
Oh, you're killing me. I didn't realize it won an award. I wanted to do that book when the new Shaft movie came out last year, and Robert went through such a fit. Just a ridiculous fit he threw.
Oh, could you imagine the dialogue in that book?
Yeah. So I had a whole week planned for Shaft stuff, and he was like, nope, never going to happen. And we ended up doing, I think, Men in Black instead, which I did not want to do, but had to do something that week, and he wasn't going to do Shaft, so I tore the whole week down. But yeah, I wanted to do the Shaft comic at one point.
Shaft would have been a great one to read. There's Occupy Avengers, Power Man and Iron Fist, which we're getting ready to talk about, Nighthawk, Fury, Secret Wars, Battle World, Cyborg, The Army of Dr. Moreau. We must have covered this guy before, because the next comic that he lists on here is Tarzan on the Planet of the Apes.
Now, he wrote that?
Was that the one we talked about where...
Yeah.
And we got a little upset, didn't we? Because there was like time travel and all sorts of crazy stuff going on in that one.
That was another one that made my nose bleed in my head and my brain seize.
I get.
And I didn't love it. It was not a pleasant experience.
Well, we both came out of this book pleasantly surprised with smiles upon our faces.
Yes,
because this is a fun, good time.
This is hilarious.
Yeah, our first four issues pretty much just cover a little bit of a caper where their secretary, who ended up going to jail, gets out of jail, gets released from jail, and she lays a sob story. That's her previous secretary, by the way. She lays this sob story.
Not secretary. She was the office manager.
The office manager. Excuse me.
They only said it in the book 20 times.
Okay, sorry. I was paying more attention to Black Mariah and her cutting fucking Iron Fist down every 2 seconds.
By the way, in your mind, were you casting the TV show, the reboot of the Luke Cage TV show, and the part of Black Mariah is played by Tiffany Haddish?
Oh my goodness.
Everything she fucking said in this comic, just in my brain, all I could hear is Tiffany. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name. Is it Haddish?
I have no idea. We'll go with Haddish.
Yeah, Tiffany. All I could hear is Tiffany Haddish saying it. Like I need a show where Tiffany Haddish plays Black Mariah.
So yes, their business manager gets released from jail. She lays a sob story on our pair of heroes here, who are not back together at the beginning of this book. They're just, checking in on a friend. That a necklace of her grandmother's had been stolen, and she just wants something to remind her of what it was like prior to her going into jail, because jail changes a person. And it just so happens that this necklace holds a certain gem, the Super Soul Stone, not Soul Gem, the Super Soul Stone. It happens to also be possessed by one tombstone. That's right, the gangster tombstone. So, in a play to try and at least handle things as calmly as possible, Luke Cage and Iron Fist go pay Tombstone a visit and request that the necklace be given back. Tombstone disagrees. Therefore, we have our adventure. They are able to secure the Super Soul Stone necklace, and they have no idea about it, number one. They just think it's a necklace that belonged to her grandmother. They give it back to her. She puts it on, and Tombstone is obviously irate and upset at the fact that they kind of came in, strong-armed their way in there. Strong-armed. Tombstone has a bit of a temper. We'll just put it that way. Things got a little out of hand. But regardless, when she puts the Super Soul Stone around her neck, things start to become different for her. She starts to evolve into a little bit of a crazy, like a demon being of some sort. She has these certain powers. Also, she's teamed up with Black Mariah.
She's kind of crazed with power from this Soulstone gem, and so she's like, yeah, we should kill this guy before anything happens to us. And Tiffany Haddish is like, stop talking about killing people. That's not what we're here for. And she's like, no, kill all the people. So that's why.
Yeah, she's got a bit of an issue here. When Luke Cage and Iron Fist discover that they gave her the Super Soul Stone, number one, they go to Doctor Strange, who has never heard of it.
Oh my God, how condescending was that scene? By the way, he's just like, yeah. Some things are just like straight magic, and I don't lower myself to that level.
Oh.
And Luke Cage is like, that's moderately racist.
Yeah.
So they go see Louis Guzman.
Yes, that's him. I swear that's him.
They go see Louis Guzman, who's just recently off his part from Godfather of Harlem, who's dressed in a dime store Doctor Strange outfit. He was like, oh, I know all about this.
Oh, he goes by the name of, it's Senor Magico, a wannabe master of mystic arts, but he knows everything about the Super Soul Stone and how bad it is.
I have a very important question here.
Yes, sir.
In the reboot, do you keep Louis Guzman in that role, or do you change it to Gabriel Iglesias?
Oh, boy. I think I like Gabriel Iglesias better. Yeah, bring Fluffy in, sure.
Yeah, I think Fluffy kills that role.
Tell me about your favorite parts of this book. I mean, really, it all comes down to the fact they got to get the Super Soul Stone back off of her.
The best part of it is just first of all, you know, we talked about on the Iron Fist show how it feels like they were struggling with Danny Rand's characterization. And I remember reading interviews about Danny Rand. You know, the actors were talking about, especially when the Defenders came around, that like him and Luke have kind of like a father-son type relationship, and Danny kind of looks up to, you know, or big brother. You know, Danny looks up to Luke Cage because, you know, he lost his parents at such a young age, and then he was raised by, you know, mystical ninja monks in the mountains, and so he hasn't really had like a good, strong moral guiding force in his life. And then you have Luke, who, you know, grew up normal, basically, like had a family, became a cop. Things just kind of shit the bed for him when he got framed for a crime he didn't commit. So Luke has a good moral compass. One of the reasons I love this book so much, and why it does kind of fit with the Bad Boys movies, is you've got such a great pairing in two very different characters. You know, you've got Luke Cage is almost like the Martin Lawrence, like, hey, let's just follow the rules here. Let's not get crazy, especially this third one. You know, what you've seen in the trailer is just like, you know, we need to worry about being good men, not bad boys. And then you have Danny Rand channeling his inner Will Smith, going, who the fuck want to be that? You know, Danny Rand's like just digging the superhero life.
Yeah.
And he has almost like not an abandonment issue, but codependent. He's almost codependent on Luke to sort of validate his being a superhero. Like, well, if Luke does it, I must be on the right track. He needs Luke to sort of validate his decisions, validate his reason for being, because while he has all of this power, because he's the Iron Fist.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever really figured out what his purpose should be. And he was like, well, if I just follow Luke's lead, I'm sure I'm going in the right direction. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of that in this book. And there's a lot of Luke doing the channeling his inner Danny Glover more than anything else from fucking Lethal Weapon, another like buddy cop pairing.
Yeah.
So there's so like if you look at this book and you're like, what genre is this book? It's the buddy cop. And so like you have Luke, who I talked about Martin Lawrence. There's also like a lot of very much Lethal Weapon Danny Glover in this, where he's just like, I'm too old for this shit.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's like
no. Wait a second. Correct yourself. I'm too old for this fiddle faddle.
I'm too old for this fiddle faddle. Correct. Hang on, I'll talk about that. So he's got a wife in Jessica Jones who's just like, hey, you know, we've been through enough crap already. We have a daughter. Let's fucking cool it on the superheroes shit. And so there's a lot of like, I don't want you to wear that shirt. I got you that for Father's. Like, he's a domesticated guy now.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
And Jessica Jones can whoop ass, and she's not having it. So he's trying to, and as a guy, as a married guy, and I'm sure you know this too. You know, it's the old saying, and it's just fucking horrible, but it is a thing. Happy wife, happy life. And so he's just trying to do right by his kid, do right by his wife, and live a quiet, domesticated life. And then there's his friend like, let's fuck the buildings.
Come on, man. Here we go.
Yeah, let's get out there, man. Let's make some bad decisions. You know, he's like a little party goblin, if you like Eliza Schlesinger. You know, he's like a little party goblin. He's like, come on, let's beat up some muggers. Let's make bad decisions. Let's go out and do shit. You know, and Luke's like, stop it. Just trying to push him down. Like, no.
Oh, just Danny wanting them to get the band back together again for at least
purpose.
Yeah, there's 3.5 issues for it. Isn't until like the very final issue Luke Cage kind of gives in. But I mean, at least there's one time every issue where Danny's like, "Oh, hey, are you saying we're back together? Are you saying we're back together?" And Luke's like, "Just come on, man. Let's just get this done. Let's get this fucking necklace."
Right. Like he feels compelled to see this through only because their office manager, their friend, went to prison for manslaughter, and so he's like, I feel obligated to help her out, but that's it. I'm not trying to be a superhero again. Mm-hmm. Danny's like a little kid also. And this did get talked about in like the run up to the Iron Fist series, especially in season 1. He's like Arrested Development, not the show. Yeah. But like, you know, like he shows up back in New York City after having been in Kunlun for all those years, and he's still like a 13-year-old boy. And he comes across that way in the story. You know, he's like the little dog, and it's like, we're gonna pick up some bones, huh, Spike, huh? We're gonna end the right, Spike? You know? He's just running around Luke Cage, and Luke Cage is just fucking stop. Mm-hmm. It's just chill.
He's very man, what's the best word? I want to say good-hearted, but I mean Jenny gullible. Yes, that's probably the best word to put it, because Jenny gets out of jail and all he wants to do is help her out. He talks Luke into coming in and helping her out, and then of course that starts the chain of events that leads down. But throughout the majority of the book, Luke knows that she is probably, or at least he feels like she shouldn't be trusted.
Well, Luke's more skeptical.
Exactly. And Danny it seems like he wants to believe the good in this person no matter what.
Again, he's like a child. He's like, you know, for him, everything is very black and white. You know, it's very binary. It's this is good, this is bad. Fight the evil, save the innocent. And Luke's like, that's so not the world we're living in. Mm-hmm. Which I think is hilarious that the next trade deals with Civil War too.
Yeah. I'm just curious. The tone has to change. I mean, you would think it would have to.
Well, these guys both lived through the original Civil War, too. Like, Luke was part of the Resistance.
Yeah.
I don't remember where Danny landed. When you think about all the stuff that's happened from Civil War till now, till 2016 when this takes place, that just affected like the street level heroes, Luke Cage especially, you can certainly sympathize with this point of view of fucking enough already. I have a child. The time for nonsense and risking my life and causing just one traumatic incident after another in this child's life is fucking over. And then there's Danny, but there's muggers that we have to punch in the face. And so there's that tension there. And I think the other side of that though is like there's a part of him that's still like the fire is still alive and he wants to go out there and he wants to be, because Danny's enthusiasm is infectious.
Yes.
Again, he has that like child in a chocolate factory fucking just, he's so excited to be out there and he's so black and white about it. It can get to you and it'd be like, yeah, he's that well-meaning devil on your shoulder of like, hey, these are fun things and this is fun times and your life's not over, so let's go out and do it. And there's a part of Luke that's like, you're not wrong. I may be married, but I'm not dead. Which I think if you're a middle-aged dude with kids, you can totally relate to. Mm-hmm. If you've got that like single friend that's like, hey, come with me to the death match down in fucking Ybor tonight. You're like, I can't. I have to go to work tomorrow. Stop going out on Thursdays.
Please.
You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
The book comes across like that. It's the single friend and the married dude and the married friend. And they're just in two different places and they're trying to find a place in the middle. And amidst all of that is this character from their lives, from their past, that because of anger and frustration and disappointment has decided to tap into this power, and it drives her crazy and turns her into a monster. And then Tiffany Haddish makes a bunch of jokes in the background.
Shakra Khan.
It's like, hey, don't get crazy, Hong Kong Fooey. Dude, I died laughing every time she couldn't remember his name. It's so good.
Yes. Just real quick on the Super Soul Stone, it's interesting that they made that a vehicle where, like, if you were weak and somewhat powerless, that is the only way that it would activate. That's why when Tombstone had it, nothing would happen. I thought that was a pretty cool way of, making her a pretty formidable foe. A neat device in the story. Mm-hmm. So, okay, let's talk about the dialogue throughout the story. The
dialogue is so snappy. Like, I'm trying to think of like who would have been able to handle the tenor of this book if you did like the live action version, and all I could think of was like Guy Ritchie.
Iron Fist worried that Jessica hates him. It's hilarious. Like every time Luke's on the phone with her, tell her I said hi. Tell her I said hi. You didn't tell her I said hi. Why would you do that? Now she hates me.
Right. And like that, again, like a little kid, right?
Yes. Hilarious. And of course, Fiddle Faddle. And what was the other one? What was the other one that he was using?
Knick-knack, paddywhack.
Jessica says I shouldn't cuss around the kids so much. I shouldn't curse around the kids so much. And of course, a good husband is going to listen to his wife, and he doesn't want to, corrupt his kid. So the rest of the book is him using Fiddle Faddle, where a curse word, and that was, I swear, dude, some of the funniest stuff.
The book kind of takes a very simple premise, and like I said before, you have old domesticated guy with young, footloose and fancy-free friend. There's a natural tension there, and comedy kind of blossoms out of that. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, the stuff with the Fantastic car that they built?
Yes. Okay, so this happens in the 5th issue. The first 4 issues are the story with Jenny Royce and her turn to the Super Soul Stone and, getting her back from that. The 5th issue was a standalone issue, which was great. And I loved it because what was so funny was I just watched a episode yesterday with my wife of Perfect Strangers. Okay. Now we're heading back to the 80s, the late 80s, early 90s here.
Jesse, it's my life. It's my dream, and nothing's going to
stop me now. Yes. So this episode of Perfect Strangers, okay, I don't know if you've watched Perfect Strangers before, but I'm gonna describe what happens here.
I grew up in the 80s. I watched Perfect Strangers.
Okay, all right. So this might jog a memory. So Larry and Balky have gone on a trip with the paper. The paper has sponsored some kind of a trip out, some kind of a meeting, I guess, or whatever, out in the woods. All right. So they get a cabin all the way, like they say they're 2 miles outside of where the rest of the paper is staying. So they're kind of alone. And of course, they bring their girlfriends. Well, as the night is getting ready to start, they're all excited because they're going to have a nice night with their girlfriends. And Mr. Gorpley walks out of the bathroom, and this guy he was Balky's boss, and he was always an asshole to Bal. He was an asshole to everybody. But anyway, this is the last person they wanted to see there, and it turns out he's staying in their cabin because the other guys in his cabin threw him out. Big surprise. All right, so here's where the fun part comes in. They turn on the radio, and there is this escaped convict. He's on the loose, and of course, he's been seen around their area. And within seconds of them turning the radio broadcast off, the escaped convict breaks into their bungalow or their cabin. The only thing you see is the escaped convict, a huge guy, by the way, huge dude, walk up, and you see his chest in full frame of the camera. It goes dark, and then the next thing you know, the guy's laying on the ground. And the cops are like, so why don't you tell us how you guys captured Mad Dog, what's his name? And then Mr. Gorpley tells a story, Larry tells a story, and Balky tells a story. And of course, none of the three stories are the same. And it is exactly like issue 5 here. And I love this issue because we have a DJ who's just he's talking about Power Man and Iron Fist. They're back together again. Heroes for hire. Hooray, hurrah. And then we have this villain. They hear about this villain who had gotten into a fight with him, gotten his teeth knocked down his throat, basically. And people want to know what happened. So we get some callers that call in and talk about what they saw. And then we have the guy that got his ass beat call in and give his side of the story. And then we have the hot dog cart vendor who tells his side of the story, who happened to be there at that time. And then, of course, we have Power Man and Iron Fist, and hence the Fantastic Car, the Iron, what was it, the Iron
the Power Fist Mobile. Oh, my God. That's one of those jokes you just gotta, like, you don't have to hit people over the head with it. You just sort of put it there, and whoever gets it, gets it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
It was.
This guy, like, such a smart dude. I'll tell you what. If someone would be like, hey, source material, typically in a very general way, what do you guys like? Comic books written by journalists. I feel like the stuff that where guys came from a different field and were given the opportunity to write comics is some of the stuff we tend to like the best because it really does have the best writing. Like, I don't know. I probably shouldn't speak for you. Maybe that's just me. But I feel like when I look back at a lot of the stuff that we've covered, the stuff that was by people who wrote from within the comic book bubble, I don't think I like nearly as much as people who drifted in from other professions.
David F. Walker's doing a fantastic job here.
Yeah. He melds humor and relationships and the plot, and it was such an enjoyable read. I'm sure this sold no books. But this is one everyone should read.
I'm looking just to see. This apparently goes for 15 issues. Walker's on it all the way through, and 2017 is the date here. So it looks like it probably wrapped up at about that point in time. Yeah, if it keeps the tone like this, which I assume it has to, this would be a fun one to cram all 15 issues in if I ever have some time on my hands. It's written brilliantly. I have a good time when I'm reading it. That's important. Black Mariah, Tombstone, the characterization of Tombstone. Tombstone doesn't feel one note to me. That's kind of what I used to think of Tombstone. Now he's this guy, he's just trying to get by in his criminal ways, but he has this interesting, temper. And he also, when he screams...
The two goons were hilarious.
He's like, did he do that crazy yelling whisper thing again? Yeah, he did. I think he's upset. It's fun.
Find me two like black comics from like SNL or just two young black comics in those roles. Tiffany Haddish, Fluffy. Bring back the guys that played Luke Cage and Danny Rand. and you have got a hot winner here on your hands.
All we wanted to see, really, and we didn't get much of it. We got the Defenders, but it just did not seem like we got the Power Man and Iron Fist that we wanted.
We got one episode in the second season of Iron Fist.
Yeah, and I don't think I've seen it. I think I've watched the first season of Iron Fist, and I never watched the second one yet.
And watch that episode.
Is it good?
Yes, it's the whole second season's not really worth watching. I mean, like, here's the thing. Robert and I reviewed it. We gave it pretty good reviews. He certainly liked it more than he liked the last season of Jessica Jones. You know, Robert's a pretty harsh critic on these things, so you take that for what it's worth. But I will tell you that if you're not like committed to being a completionist and just knocking out all the Netflix Marvel shows, and you're like, I just want to see Heroes for Hire, just watch that one episode of Iron Fist. It's well worth your time. You know, these shows are only an hour long, so watch that episode, and the rest of it can just piss off.
You got it, Mr. Manslaughter, sir. Your usual, the Jumbo Frank with mustard and extra sauerkraut. Thank you, my man. You always do it right. That is Mr. Manslaughter talking to the hot dog cart guy in issue 5.
It's so funny because this is like that's an episode where you get Quentin Tarantino to come in because it's so like non-linear and all these different perspectives.
Yes,
and it's so dialogue driven. Oh my god, it's so funny. You know, because the whole thing is like they're building there's this flying car and it doesn't have seat belts and they're taking it out for a spin and Danny flips the car basically and fucking Luke Cage falls out and he falls on this guy who looks like
falls on him. Oh my god.
I laughed so hard. And that's what got the whole thing going. By the way, going back to Tombstone for a second, when we covered Blood Ties, we were talking about, you know, the half nephew of fucking Boba Fett, who's like, I have 3 credits to protect me, to pay you to protect me from this guy. And we see the same gimmick here, where fucking Tombstone's like, I want to hire you. For what? Like, protect me from her. You're Heroes for Hire, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right.
So funny.
Oh, Power Man. Oh, yes. When he falls out of the car. This is all your fault. What's my fault? All of this fiddle faddle. People actually listen to the show. Now they'll think I'm going to start flying. Oh, it's funny stuff.
He fell out of the car.
He accidentally fell on the villain.
Oh, and Daddy's like, all right, it had a safety bar. There were no seatbelts.
Safety bar. I'm okay. So, I mean, really, I don't think there's much else we could draw out of this other than it's a damn hilarious.
I just wish other writers would take a lesson from books like this because it's not the first time. A, it's not the first book we've covered that had this tone. B, I feel like writers that kind of examine the finer points of a world with superheroes in it and can kind of exploit them for some really memorable, enjoyable moments are going to be more successful than everything having to be overly epic and grimdark. And I say that with the full knowledge that this book was canceled after 15 issues and probably didn't sell. So what do I know?
So the DJ asks... DJ asks, I believe he's asking Iron Fist, so what happened next? And there's Manslaughter, whatever the hell his name is, sitting there in front of the hot dog stand singing, I love me some hot dogs, gonna eat me up this hot dog, eat up this hot dog. Cage lands on him.
And yes, and we need Rampage Jackson in that role, by the way.
Yes.
Get fat Rampage. Don't lose any weight. Don't take any more MMA fights. Just get your Mr. T Mohawk going and sing, I love me some hot dogs, gonna eat me this hot dog. You know you want to, fatty.
I mistakenly said Luke Cage landed on him. He did not land on him. He landed on the building in front of him. He says, eat it up, this hot dog. And then Luke Cage lands in front of him. He flies backwards. He says, my hot dog. That's great. Anyway, all right.
Last thing I need to mention. It's very important. I'll go back to my notes that I sent you on this.
Oh, you sent me some notes?
Oh, I sent you some notes.
Oh, boy.
You and Hong Kong Fooey stole my property.
So this fucking thing. I'm telling you.
Okay. Yes. So when we talked about Luke Cage season 3 before everything got canceled because Disney bought Fox and I don't know, everything came to a fucking end. No, I'm sorry. It was the potential launch at the time of Disney Plus, at which point Netflix was like, "Oh shit, we have real competition. Fuck it, we're canceling everything Marvel."
Everything's canceled. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had talked at the time about who should be the villain in Luke Cage season 3, and because Robert Winfrey hated the amount of music that was being used in the narrative, and I think you gave me some shit about it too. I was like, no, more music. Make Luke Cage the opera. I want a Hamilton style rap opera for Luke Cage season 3. And I came up with the best villain for that, Hypno Hustler.
Oh yes, the Hypno Hustler.
And he makes an appearance.
Oh wow.
Yes, we have a Hypno Hustler sighting.
Crazy. Like there were a couple B villains. Well, Tombstone was the big one. Like I don't know. At least as far as I know, you don't see him very often. He's just like your bit street player usually.
No, I would say your main villain for the first 4 issues was Jenny from the Block.
Oh yeah, Jenny from the Block. No, the main villain was fucking Jessica Jones with take a shirt. You ain't wearing that shirt out there. I got you that.
And the part of the nagging wife will be played by.
oh boy, I could not see. Is it Kristen Ritter? Is that her name?
Kristen Ritter, yeah.
Yeah, I could not see her in this role. She could not be nagging wife. She is like the. Yeah, just not going to do it.
They need to replace her with the chick from King of Queens.
Leia Remini?
Yeah. Leia Remini, or I don't know where the broad from Lucky Louie got off to after that show, but either one of them would have worked just fine in that role.
He crushed the phone, didn't he? That's like the third this week.
Did you ever watch Lucky Louie, by the way?
No, I don't. I've heard of it, but I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, it's only one season, 22 to 30-minute sitcom on HBO starring Louis C.K.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I used to watch Louie, but I never watched Lucky Louie.
This precedes Louie.
Okay, all right.
And the wife on that show could have very easily played this iteration of Jessica Jones.
Oh boy.
Down to the annoying nagging wifeness.
Wow. Well, I had a good time here. I think if somehow, some way, some Luke Cage Iron Fist thing happens again in the future, we just need to go back and read volume 2 of this. Because we've had a good time with it, and I don't think David F. Walker could really steer this. I mean, even Civil War II. I just kind of perused the 6th issue, by the way, and it does look like it takes a bit of a serious tone because they watch the events unfold on TV. And who was it? Was it She-Hulk that ended up in a coma?
Yep.
So apparently, Iron Fist and She-Hulk were seeing each other at one point. So that's when he's watching this go down.
How could he handle the pace?
Ooh, I think it's she that has to worry about.
One statement made in that comic: we have never let it go.
Like an old man Logan. Yes, sir. Well, all right. Well, yeah. If we ever get the chance, we will definitely revisit David F. Walker's rendition of Iron Fist, Power Man and Iron Fist.
The rumor is that, Marvel can utilize, I think they said that after X year, Marvel got those characters back, that they could do something with them. But I'm now seeing articles hither and thither on different comic blogs saying that this could happen sooner than later, and that we might start to see these characters pop. Like, they might not be able to have their own shows or movies, but they can show up in other people's shows or movies.
Okay.
So, for example, Spider-Man 3 comes out next year, 2021. Theoretically, we could see Punisher in there. And I'm not saying that's the rumor.
Ooh.
I'm not in any way saying that John Berthal's Punisher is going to be in Spider-Man 3. I'm saying the rumor is that they're going to start peppering these casted characters from the Marvel shows into other stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I don't know if by that iteration, I don't know if they can do like a Heroes for Hire show, and that if that's against the contract they have with Netflix. I don't have the finer points of that nailed down, so I'm not sure what they can and can't do. But theoretically, if they come back and they do a Heroes for Hire show with Luke Cage and Iron Fist from the Marvel, even if they don't, even if they just recast them as new people, yes, we will continue this series because it's hilarious. There's a long way to go to get to I agree with you.
Yeah. I like it. All right, well, let's go ahead and close up shop here, man. What do we got going on the Rattlich in Broadcasting Network?
Hey, this Wednesday is the Superblog team up focusing on gimmicked comic books. They call it Chromium. I call it horseshit.
Oh my.
But I love the Superblog team up. It's run by Chris Bailey. And a whole bunch of comic blogs and podcasts are taking part in it. And our little contribution from the Source Material podcast is Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, the first 5 issues that complete the Torment story arc. And you get to hear all about that, and we focus on that one because it really does kick off in earnest the age of gimmicky comics. Right, Jesse?
Yeah, yes, sir. That's the gimmicks, lenticular covers, chromium covers, polybag, cards.
100 variants.
Variants, that's right. That's what we're looking at there with the topic Chromium.
It has the dubious honor of being the comic that drove me and my father out of reading comics for a while.
Interesting story. Tune in and listen, folks.
Yeah. See what happens when angsty Mark gets sick of comic books. And he decides to focus on heavy metal and getting laid. High school, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Meanwhile, back in the city, as I mentioned, tomorrow we'll be doing a Damn You Hollywood for Bad Boys for Life. We'll review the new Mystic Prophecy album, Metal Division, and we'll do a Long Road to Ruin on Bad Boys, what you gonna do? We've got boxing coverage, myself and Robert Winfrey, coverage for Jaime Munguia versus Spike O'Sullivan, because with great mustache comes great responsibility. So that's in the archives. We did our year-end special with Pat Mullen, and we looked at some 80s Kiss. That was a really fun show. Pat's always a great person to have on. His memory for detail for various pop culture things rivals almost nobody I know. So he's a lot of fun. I'm an official member, card-carrying member of the Strong Opinion Squad. We reviewed The Watchmen from HBO.
Oh yeah.
And to go alongside that here on Source Material, we looked at Doomsday Clock.
Yes, sir.
Speaking of convoluted comics that make no sense. Comics that are up their own ass.
He's not a fan of the big events, ladies and gentlemen.
He's a big dumb animal, ladies and gentlemen. We looked at Star Wars Blood Ties, A Tale of Jango and Boba Fett, The Mandalorian, the comic Crisis on Infinite Earths, the CW series Crisis on Infinite Earths, and hey, for those of you that like the wrestling, we did a TV party for NXT UK TakeOver Blackpool 2. So that's all in the archives. We've got boxing coverage. We've got MMA. We've got wrestling. We've got a whole podcast dedicated to the history of heavyweight boxing. We've done Jack Johnson, Jack Dempsey, Joe Louis. And next week, we'll do Chapter 4 on Rocky Marciano. Rocky Marciano gave me these cufflinks.
Nice. What's that from?
From Rocky.
Oh, okay. All right, man. Anything else?
I'm done talking now.
He is done talking. I am ready to get on out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, that is Mark Rattlich. I am Jesse Starcher. We will be talking to you pretty soon. Listen for our show coming up on Wednesday. Until then, have a great one. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for joining us. Do not forget to subscribe to our new home by punching in W2M Network on just about any podcast platform to get all of our content into your audio feed. Also, give a like to the Rattlich in Broadcasting Network and W2Mnet.com Facebook page in order to stay on top of everything that we have to offer. If you'd like to follow the Source Material Podcast on social media, just follow at SourceMatCast on Twitter, and we are on Facebook at Source Material Comics Podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, please feel free to share. We look forward to entertaining you again soon. When they come for you, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Smack it up, flip it, rub it down.
Oh no! Let's get this party started. Oh my goodness. Mark Rattlich, when did this come out? I'm looking it up right now. You son of a bitch, you motherfucker. Tell me about it. Oh, motherfucker. Badass mofo. So I have to click on this, Mark. I don't know what this is going to contain.
You've got my attention, sir. Right?
Puffy? Is that
Yeah.
it? Puffy, yeah. Not Puffy. Fluffy. Not Puffy.
Yeah.
Fluffy. Puffy.
Wrong guy.
Puffy Sean Combs.
Can I have my dick for the weekend? No? All right, hang on. Guys, I can't go. Yeah, she's got it. She's fucking got my dick. Well, we were just a part of the, we will be a part of
There you
the
go.
super goddamn time travel. Speaking of pulling it out of his pants, Big Blue Cock. You happy? 2 in the can.
2 in a can, 1 to go. We be fast and they be slow.
Thank you.
Don't worry, I'm going to get that reference out of the way for you, Mark, so you don't have to worry about it.